All right, calling the work session of Monday, April 8th to order at 6:01. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Brescher.
Here.
Councilmember Coyle. Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Patel.
Here.
Councilmember Patil.
Here.
Councilmember Pointer.
Present.
And Councilmember Shmuel.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please read the adequate notice.
Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by the annual notice sent to Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, Desi Talk, and News India Times on December 12th, 2023, and posted main lobby municipal complex on that same date.
All right, going to oral petitions and remarks. I'll just wait for the list. Thank you. Christo.
Thank you for recognizing me.
You're recognized.
Did you recognize me?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, of course you did. You stated my name. Okay. One moment. I am writing to Edison Town Council to express my deep concern regarding reports of censorship and restriction of public comments during board meetings. As a supporter of free speech, I believe it is imperative that all citizens are afforded the opportunity to express their views without fear of censorship. The First Amendment protects our fundamental right to free speech, especially the right to criticize elected officials in public forums. However, the actions described in recent Edison Township meetings, including cutting off speakers and selectively enforcing vague decorum rules, infringe upon these rights. The board can and should prohibit disruptive conduct and threats of violence, but it must not impose vague and easily abused restrictions on vulgar, inflammatory, abusive, or disparaging language in the name of decorum. I urge the board to take immediate action to rectify the situation and uphold the fundamental rights of all citizens. Restrictions on free speech should be viewpoint neutral, reasonable, and clearly defined to prevent arbitrary enforcement and censorship. Public participation in these meetings is critical for fostering transparency, accountability, and community engagement in our township and education system. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I look forward to seeing positive changes that protect and promote First Amendment rights at future council meetings. And the reason I say this, through the chair to Councilman Brescher, I believe there was some kind of a conspiracy that what they were going to do here is they weren't going to arrest me, but if I cursed, they were going to remove me, thinking that they weren't going to be held liable for whatever genius reason. I'd still file a tort claim on the cops. It's still conspiracy to deprive someone of their constitutionally protected activity and deprivation of rights under color of law. So we're talking about, you know, did you guys conspire in the back room to throw members of the public out for speaking without criminally charging them? Was that a discussion among any of you? Why did I have other residents knowing about this that walked up to me? They knew about it very well. How much time do I have left, Miss?
3 minutes.
3 minutes? Are you hearing what I'm saying, Deputy Chief Dudash? Through the chair, of course, to Deputy Chief Dudash, I can't believe these people, they never learn. If what I'm saying is true, they all conspired to commit a felony. Did you plan on throwing out a resident for cursing without criminally charging them? Can anybody answer that? I know about it. I know it was gonna happen. How you doing, Joe?
How you doing?
Thanks for being late. Did you hear what I say? Do you know about the
Hey,
conspiracy
no
of wanting,
talking, just please.
through the chair to Joe? Do you know about the conspiracy to throw out residents without criminally charging them? Why would you want to taint these officers? Why is the executive branch, okay? Why are you guys always getting involved with the police department? Why is the mayor always getting involved with the police department? How much time do I have left?
1 minute.
How is it that resident Joel Bassoff knew about this? How is it that I know about this? Why are you guys pretending like you not know about it? Is it because the moment you admit to it, federal charges might arise against all of you? Are you aware that I can stand up here and curse and there's nothing you can do about it? Do you admit that? Council President Nish Patel, do you admit? It's through the chair, Deputy Chief Dudash. It's a simple question. What's wrong with their egos?
Speaker has 1 minute.
Do you admit that a speaker can come up here and curse without fear of being removed, even if they get criminally charged or not? You know what? Through the chair, Deputy Chief Dudash, I don't even want to test it out, even though I should test it out. But he's a government official. He should be mature enough to answer the question. And his silence speaks volumes. His silence definitely speaks volumes. I'm not going to stand here and curse again, even though it's my right to do so. Rosenfeld versus New Jersey allows me to do so. How much time do I have left?
8 seconds.
God bless America. Jesus Christ is the truth. You have zero integrity. And the fact that you plan to, if you think you
Thank
can
you,
throw
Chris, sir, your
people,
time is up.
if you think you can throw people
Your
out,
time is
your
up, sir.
piece is
Please
of
sit
shit.
down.
If you think you can throw people
Please
out,
sit down. Thank you.
piece of shit.
Anybody else would like to speak?
Have a nice day. Sir, have a nice day, Deputy Chief.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Nasser, Pleasant Avenue in Edison.
You're recognized.
Excuse me?
You're recognized.
Thank you. I had the privilege of attending the library retreat this weekend with the library trustees and Councilwoman Harris, and I wanted to highlight 3 very positive things, unlike the last conversation. So this week is the 95th anniversary of the Edison Public Library, and each of our 3 branches, Main, North, and Clara Barton, are hosting events open to everyone. Hopefully we'll see some of the council there. Second, last year, through the leadership of the library trustee, Pat Massey, library director, Alan Kleiman, and Sue Malone Barber, we restarted the nonprofit organization called the Friends of the Edison Public Library. We are currently 60 members strong across all of Edison, and I'm requesting that if you haven't already joined, please go ahead and do so, and you can sign up on the Edison Public Library website. Lastly, we will be hosting the book sale and the bake sale at Clara Barton Library this Friday and Saturday between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And this is, again, hoping to raise funds for children's programs and different associations for the Friends of the Edison Public Library. So I know this was a lot of things going on in the last few weeks and few months, but these are really positive things that are happening within Edison, and we'd really like to have some attention and awareness from the council to highlight these to our residents so that more people can come out and attend these programs. All right, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yep.
Octa Nasser, Pleasant Avenue.
You're recognized.
Thank you. It's been a crazy few days in Edison. We've had an earthquake, a solar eclipse, and I'm hoping that we get sidewalks next. Sorry, I had to do that. One of my colleagues at work kind of was teasing me about that. I want to thank a couple people. I want to thank the Clara Barton residents for showing up last Thursday's meeting. We appreciate the active council members and the mayor, and any non-Clara Barton members did not show up, as we just wanted this to be a think tank session for the residents of Clara Barton. Councilman Pointer, thank you for helping me address the illegal parking on Pleasant Avenue and Amboy Avenue, and of course the police department for making sure that they're ticketing and warning anyone that is parking on the sidewalks and also at the stop signs. So I thank you for restoring the public safety of that area. I also want to thank Councilman Pointer for sending the street signage for the library to the administration. I'm hopeful that you can give us an update on where it stands right now and when we can get street signs posted around town. And finally, I'm excited that this week again is the 95th anniversary of the library. As a member of the Friends of the Library, it's been a pleasure working with the library trustee, Pat Macy. She's been given a prestigious honor, and I'm hopeful that this will be spoken about in the Points of Light today. Thank you.
Thank you, Hector.
Hello, Sue Malone Barber, Pleasant Avenue.
You recognize Sue.
Thanks. I would just like to echo what Akhtar and Sarah said. There are great things happening at the library, and the Friends really ramped up quickly. And I think our Board of Trustees, especially Pat, is really, really doing so much for our libraries. I live right across the street from the Clara Barton Library, and considering where we were and where we are now, that lot is almost always full, and it's great to see. And I think they're doing a great job, and I think we should take this 95th anniversary to celebrate them, celebrate Pat's accomplishments, which I think will be spoken about later, and in general, applaud what they've done. There's so much to do. There's so many great ideas. We're going to get there. And I think we have a very committed Friends group, which is nice to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Anybody else?
Anthony Deamron, 25 Wiley.
You're recognized, Anthony.
Thank you, sir. First, any news, any updates on the Cannabis Oversight Committee that was going to be put together? Has it been put together or decided? Any members have been established yet? Or?
As of right now, we have no plans to move forward with cannabis, so we...
Oh, okay. I thought you were doing a oversight.
No, so we decided to put
Okay.
hold on.
No, that solves that. Speaking of which, I do have a question though. Is there any law that prohibits, I'm just curious, that from a municipality entering into the distribution or growing of cannabis themselves, whether a township can sell it and grow it?
I would assume we would have to apply to state and get licensed.
That's not permitted by the state law.
Oh, it's not. Okay, never mind. We're not permitted.
Okay. That's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close?
May I have a second?
Second.
It's a motion by Council Vice President, second by Councilman Pointer. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the review of minutes, regular of November 29, 2023. Any comments? All right, seeing none. Moving on to reports from all council committees. Starting on my right, Councilman Brescher.
None at this time, sir.
All right. Councilman Coyle?
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee had a brief summary meeting the other day. We will look forward to having another meeting in the next 30 days. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Coyle. Council Vice President?
Yes. The Edison Human Relations Commission met on April 2nd. We introduced and welcomed the new members, Rashid Khan and Rupal Patel. We are still in the midst of creating and reviewing our logo to be used on social media, stationery, and a banner. it's in process of being reviewed for approval. We are looking to cap the membership at 11 members of this commission. I believe we have, I think we might have 10 right now, I'm not positive. The meeting schedule for 2024 was created, and the next meeting is on May 7th. It's not going to be on consistent days of the week because of various conflicts, so I'll advise you each time. I'm not going to give you the whole list right now. I don't know if that's anywhere on the website, but the next meeting is going to be on May 7th at 7:15 p.m. Bank account is, a trust is going to be held by the town. It's going to be all checks would be payable to the Township of Edison. We need to elect a treasurer. Maria Orchid will be coordinating a bike safety program with Open Space in Edison schools. And there is a diversity, equity, and inclusion showcase on April 16th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Edison High School. There was some questions about, the Human Relations Commission would like to be involved with Juneteenth, and has the Juneteenth celebration, has that been established yet? Through President to Sonia?
It's usually through the recreation program, but I'll follow up and let you know.
Okay, all right. Oh, and the commission also wanted to know, now that they're a commission, if they can get township emails, just as the Cultural Arts Commission has gotten email addresses. So can that be addressed to somebody? Okay, all right, so that's Human Relations Commission. There was no animal shelter meeting, but as I had mentioned previously, we don't meet again until June 4th, but we did get a report for the month. The dog adoptions, we've had 12, it's really exceptional. Cat adoptions, 15. Total animals in the shelter, we have 13 dogs, 15 cats, 3 are nursing moms. There are 4 pregnant cats and 18 kittens. Best Friends is a rescue that we work with that will be taking in 10 to 30 of our cats and kittens to go to their adoption center. We are currently perfectly staffed. DPW and IT has all the cameras hung. And the upcoming events have to do the kitten shower. The kitten shower is April 21st from 12 to 4 p.m. at 125 Municipal Boulevard. And Barks at Brownstone is on Saturday, April 27th. And that's, the doors open at 5 p.m. for that. And then there's going to be, I guess, Project Pets is every Thursday at 1 p.m. I'm actually not familiar with that. So once again, through Council President to our business administrator, what is Project Pets?
I'm not sure, but I'll follow up.
Okay, all right. So those are that. And as Sarah, Akhtar, and Sue remarked, you've taken a lot of the words out of my mouth, and I'm happy about that. We did meet for our retreat on Saturday. People were asking me, when I was telling them I'm going to a retreat, they were asking me, where's the retreat going to be? And I, because I think they're expecting it was going to be at some wonderful hotel or something, so I would tell them that we're meeting at the Edison Library Resort and Conference Center. So as they mentioned, big day tomorrow is the 95th anniversary celebration, and that will be over at the that's going to be at the main library. It starts at 5:30. There's going to be entertainment and some refreshments. The book and bake sale, as was mentioned, is going to be on the 12th and 13th over at Clara Barton. North Library, once it gets under construction for the expansion, the North Library is going to close. It's going to be closed for 9 months to a year. We had at the retreat, we had Pat Tumulty, who is Library Crossroads Consulting, and Eileen Palmer, LCC, along with Keith McCoy, former acting director of our library and current director of the Library Foundation. So it was a very productive meeting, and a lot was spoken about in terms of getting more of the word out, which you find people did do and are doing. And that in its own way, despite what happened with the whole Clara Barton debacle last year, actually the silver lining has been that there has been more attendance at that library, and the people seem to really understand and value the library. So we are happy that that's what the outcome has been. But we want to get the word out. We want to encourage people to join the Friends of the library, and there are spots open for the foundation that Keith McCoy is the current director of. And if you have an interest in getting more involved, we certainly encourage that. Also mentioned, and this is something that is really a wonderful, wonderful thing. Pat Massey has been given the honor of being elected president of the New Jersey Library Trustee Association, and I can't think of anybody more deserving of that honor. She is terrific, and she's been a great, great leader, and so this is a wonderful and well-deserved honor. Just also want to remind people that one of the things that is not so well known about the library are the museum passes that include, and some of these are for free entry, some of them are for a deep discount, and they're very limited in terms of their availability. But they include the Thomas Edison Center over at Menlo Park, Museum of Natural History, the Guggenheim, the Intrepid, the Battleship New Jersey, the Montclair Art Museum, Newark Museum of Art, MoMA, the Academy of Natural Sciences of Drexel University in Philadelphia, here's the one that kind of eye-popped everybody, Eastern State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania. Apparently, this is actually a big attraction. Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, the Jewish Museum, the Frick Madison Collection, and Imagine That. So that's a lot of, I think that's 14 different museum passes. And I believe, and Sarah, you can let me know, are these available at the main library, these passes? All three libraries, okay, very good. So that's the report on Library Week, and I believe that concludes my reports.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Councilman Patil?
None at this time.
All right, thank you. Councilman Pointer?
None at this time.
Councilman Shmuel?
No, sir.
All right. As for me, I attended Open Space on Thursday. One of the main things that they wanted me to convey was there is a street project, the fight to make our streets safer, a film being screened at Metuchen High School Auditorium on May 10th, 7 to 8:30 p.m. There's also the bicycle tour between Edison and Metuchen that will take place on May 19th, Sunday. We also discussed Transit Village near the Edison train station and how we would like it to be more pedestrian-friendly. And last but not least, there was a project for bike sharing that was presented where a resident could pay $15 to the town and they will be provided with a bike that they can rent. But we are still looking into it. That's it for me on open space. Point of lights. Any council members? Yes. Council Vice President.
Yes. First of all, from Lieutenant Doug Turner, the fundraiser last Wednesday over at the Brownstone for the Unity Tour was a huge success. They hit the fundraising goals and are so appreciative to all those who attended and who have contributed. They now have enough to fund all 17 riders from Edison and the 2 support staff on the national stage. And once again, the kickoff for the actual bike trip is going to be May 10th. That's what do we say? I think that's a Thursday. Thursday, May 10th at 7:30 a.m. at the Franklin Police Station. So if you can come and see them off, they would really, really appreciate the support. Also, they had an Edison ride scheduled for this coming Thursday from 9 to 11 to honor and remember the fallen officers at the Edison Police Department with a brief ceremony to follow at the police memorial. But unfortunately, the weather forecast is not looking favorable, and they're probably going to have to reschedule. They're going to look to next week if possible. And so I guess if you are interested in that, it apparently goes to all the elementary schools, and it gives the kids a chance to say hello and greet the officers. and then comes back here for a press conference. So it's to be determined when that date is for rescheduling. I also wanted to mention that North Edison softball, that opening is on this coming Saturday, the 13th at 10, and the Midtown softball is opening on Sunday, the 14th at 10 a.m. And lastly, I want to wish all of our Muslim friends a very blessed Eid. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Any other council members?
Council President?
Councilman Brescher?
Yes. Quick question to my Council Vice President. Did you give the dates for the library, the dates and times for the 95th anniversary?
So the big celebration is tomorrow. That's tomorrow, 5:30 over at the main library, followed by at 7 o'clock, the regular board meeting. But it's Library Week, I should mention that too. It's Library Week starting yesterday until Saturday. It's Library Week. And then there are events at the various library locations. As I said, the book and bake sale. I think there's some, as I think Sarah said, there are events going on at all the libraries. I don't know what other ones.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to add to the Clara Barton Library, Wednesday, April 10th, which would be the following day at 6 p.m. The North Edison branch, they have on Thursday, April 11th at 12 p.m. Depends on where you live, I guess, but I try and make the first one. Then there were a couple other things. April 13th is Earth Day at Papanani. April 14th, Mizla at Ulensis. I'm reading this that somebody texted me for Points of Light. Clara Barton Neighborhood Cleanup and Yard Sale is April 20th, and Thomas Edison Memorial Tower Cleanup is April 20th, and April 18th is the Environmental Commission meeting. That would be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brescher. Anybody else?
Council President? I just want to wish happy birthday to Dr. Nasser. He's been volunteering a lot on his days when he should be home with his family, and I think they also had an anniversary. He's out volunteering to help Clara Barton, so thank you.
Happy birthday, Actor. Okay. As for me, the Earth Day, as Councilman Brescher pointed out, is Saturday, April 13th at Lake Papiani, 9 to 2. If it rains, it will be moved to Minibee Community. Happy Eid. That will also take place on Saturday, April 20th at Lake Papiani from 3 to 8 p.m. and with the rain day of Saturday, April 27th. Now, moving on to each department and any questions or comments. So number 8, from the Department of Finance, A through D. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Moving on to number 9, from the Department of Health, A. Any questions or comments? All right. As for me, I just want to point this out. This one's actually for the Stelton Community Center. I know it states that's for the library. So just so everyone reading this, this is for the Stelton Community Center, $3 million. Number 10, from the Department of Law, A through C. Any questions?
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Patel.
On A, again, thank you for putting this on the agenda. However, as we all know, the agenda was distributed on Friday evening. It's going to take some time for us to review, but again, it will be for introduction this Wednesday. I think, the request is for all the council colleagues, please thoroughly review this ordinance. It's very important that we give the same tax breaks to the residents. It's not selective the way I read the subject. But hopefully we do our due diligence and make sure that everyone gets a fair treatment. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Patel.
Council President, just one note. The explanation, what's carried on the agenda and the explanation for B indicates that it's a resolution amending the redevelopment plan. It's actually not. It's a resolution referring to the planning board for review, a proposed amendment to the redevelopment plan. I don't want, ultimately, when council has to adopt the redevelopment plan, it would be done by ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, was he speaking of the A will be sent to the?
No, 10B.
Okay, thank
so
you.
10B, resolution
B.
amending.
Yeah, it should be a resolution referring a proposed amendment to the redevelopment plan 4.
And Council President,
Yes, Councilman
if
Patel.
I could, for A, the resolution for the tree fund, we're looking to lower the applicants for residential.
Yes,
What is it now? Is it $25?
I think it's 500 and we're going to $300.
No, actually, it's, right now, for single-family homes, I believe what the councilman's referring to is there is a $25 application fee, and there currently is not a charge if, on a single-family lot, if you remove a tree, I believe.
So just walk me through what we're amending. I mean, just,
Can I chime in on that?
Sure.
I got a question on the floor. Can I just get it answered?
I was going to answer it.
Oh, you were going to answer it?
Yeah.
Okay. If the council president wanted to answer it, I'm fine with him answering it. But
You're okay with Councilman?
I mean, whatever works to get the answer.
Councilman Brescher, if you want to.
What I think this ordinance came from, and I'm not, I'm here to support my council colleagues, but we had a one-shot situation that happened, and we want to pass it to the residents, and I think there's value there. I'm just wondering, how much lower can you lower it? Because we have people, no different than, builders taking down some large trees. If it's $25, I mean, we can't lower it to 15. So it's $25. So I'm just trying to figure out what gain we'll have to the residents. It's not like they pull down, 500 trees a year. So just trying to find some balance to it.
Yeah. Council President?
Okay, Councilman Brescher?
Yes, and I'm going to have, I think, John help me with this one, because we've went through this. My property, I have 45 trees, right? I don't live on an exceptionally large lot. It's not acres, but I have 45 trees. If at some time I wanted to be like all of my neighbors and have 7 trees, right? That would mean, what would that be, 38 trees I'm going to take down. Would I have to pay the $500 for the 38 trees I'm taking down, or am I only paying $25 for the tree?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Bignell. Or I don't know if that question was to me, but I would defer to Mr. Bignell. I don't know who Mr. Pointer's going to defer to.
Well,
Okay, Councilman Pointer, if you want to answer.
In the current ordinance, any replacement tree would be subject to the $500 amount. Any of the replacement trees would be applicable if you were taking more than 25% of your total lot trees down.
right, so it's there to reduce the cost to the residents to something that's reasonable. So it's not a $25 tree. It's only a $25 tree if you're doing like 1 or 2 trees. But yes, so the premise of it was just to make it fair and equal to the residents themselves.
Oh, thank you, Councilman Brescher. But I did, Lou, I'm not sure if you're familiar. Mike did mention that there were only like 2 out of 1,400 cases that would really.
That's my understanding, and that's why I was going to defer to Mr. Bignell.
Mr. Bignell, if you have more information on this, it'd be helpful.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The $25 is just the application fee. If they take down a healthy tree, it's done by the size. So any tree that's 14, I believe, to 16 inches, it's a percentage of trees replaced. Anything after 16 inches, it's a number of trees. So if you take a tree that's, say, 18 inches caliper, I think the replacement is 3 trees. And then if it goes to 21, it's 4 trees. And then the amount for each tree is $500 per tree if you put it into the tree fund. If you plant it back on your site, the extra trees, there's no fee involved at all. What Mr. Brescher, I think, was asking was, is the price going to get lowered for a resident? Instead of having them putting money into the tree fund at $500 a tree, it would be done at $300 a tree.
Right, I don't know the math. I was just looking for the math to be equal to what we just approved.
Yeah, and that works, whatever it is.
I believe it was a little excessive to begin with, and being that I have these 40-something trees, and some of them are a diameter of.
If you took down 38 trees, you'd probably be paying thousands and thousands of dollars.
Well,
my point.
Maybe. Sorry, it's the lawyer in me. There's an exemption from the tree replacement requirement for single-family homes. So if you have a single-family lot and you're clearing it for a new construction, you have to go through and pay the fees. If you have a single-family lot, unless you are going to reduce more than 25% of the existing tree cover, then you're exempt completely. So So and I don't know how many trees you have on your lot, but if you have 4 times 38 trees, then you wouldn't be reducing it by more than 25%, and you would pay nothing. You'd pay $25. So the reason why there are so few of them is because it is so unusual to find somebody who is going to have an existing single-family home and take down more than 25% of the tree cover on their property, right, Hank?
Most of the time, the developer's already taken down all the trees. So by the time the homeowner gets there,
But
it's
the
just a
purpose
few.
of this is not, so it's to distinguish from new construction as opposed to Rich Brescher has a house that's been there forever and you just decide that you wanted to clear out your backyard to build a pool, for instance. So as long as you're not removing more than 25% of all of the trees on your property, you don't pay a fee at all.
And we get very few of those. So, like you said,
And we only had 2 of them, so.
and if they're dead, you can take
If
them
you
down too.
removed your 38 trees and you violated the ordinance, thank you for reporting it, and I'll have Mr.
I
Vignell
haven't, but
investigate.
I'm
Okay.
getting close to, clean up all the little itchy balls and leaves are becoming an issue. But that was all that it was.
Yeah,
just to
that's
make it
because I knew
fair.
there was an exemption for single-family homes, but that's where it kicks in.
And we did an analysis for you too recently. I don't have the numbers on the top of my head, but the numbers were stark because if it was commercial, there's a lot of money. If it was residential, it was very little. So we've done that already for you.
Thank you.
Council President,
Councilman Clough?
just to the administrator, can we have some data on how many trees have been removed on residential properties and what kind of revenue we have received over the last 5 years? Because I'm just questioning whether, based on it being 25%, I don't know whether this is going to really move the needle.
I think they did have a report, right?
We did, we'd previously provided the numbers,
We
but
did
we'll
a
follow up
3-year
with
look
the,
back.
Okay.
And what was the result?
the 2 out of residential, so.
Okay.
2 people over 3 years?
Out of 1,400.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on,
Council President,
Councilman Point.
just a couple questions if I can. For item C, any inspections, what would the notice requirement be? And I guess that's to our legal if possible.
On the ordinance, it just says adequate notice. I'm not sure what the timeline is.
Either. I'll pull it.
Nothing that needs to be answered immediately, just something that, if I can get clarification on, I'd appreciate it. And then in regards to item A, on the second section with the tree fund expenditures, would we be allowed to, and maybe it's in regards to the erosion note that's in there, but could we add in stormwater management on that? I think that would be permissible.
I actually don't think it would be because once again, the legal basis for having a tree conservation ordinance is that you are going to replace trees. I don't know that stormwater management would necessarily, stormwater management could be laying pipes, for instance. That really is not that really doesn't do anything to increase or protect the, let's call it the canopy, which is what the Jackson Township case refers to in terms of the whole township. So,
Okay,
and that having been said, if we have to fix drainage in order to preserve trees in a park, that would be logical, but I don't think I would add in stormwater management because, not this council,
And
because.
that example is
some
kind of
few-
what I'm going for in regards.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
I think that that's probably adequately covered already.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Council
Councilman Pointer. All right, seeing none, moving on to number 11. From the Department of Planning and Engineering, A through E. Any questions or comments?
Council President,
Pointer?
just as a clarifying question, we had the tree refund resolution at the last meeting that was tabled, and I thought it was supposed to be put up, or it was tabled to this meeting. Am I
I
misunderstood on that
think the
one?
engineering asked to delay it.
It was delayed?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you, that was it. Thank you, sir.
All right, moving on. Anybody else?
I just like to tell you that, yeah, I'm happy that I'm seeing D move forward. I believe this is age restricted, and I think it's nice to see some place for people, once you hit 55, that, you don't have to live in the really big house, and it can just make your life, and you can still be part of the same community that you've lived in. So I'm very happy to see that we have that on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brescher. All right, seeing none, moving on to number 12 from the Department of Public Works, A through E. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, moving to number 13 from the Department of Water and Sewer, A through B. Any questions or comments?
Council President,
Councilman Patil?
this for A, this water meter replacement, it says multi-phase project. This council did approve, I believe, $1.2 million to replace the water meter. And I understand this is an application for the loan. Are we anticipating more than what we budgeted?
I don't think this is anything to change with the budget, right? This is just the application itself.
Understood, but we already approved funds for this project. So how that's going to work?
Council President, if I may ask the engineering professionals to come up and clarify the funding aspect and any additional funding.
Sure. Yeah, application.
Good evening. Dave Kasiniak with T&M Associates. I don't know why it says multi-phase. It's not a multi-phase project. The water meter replacement is a single project. No, there's been no changes in the funding that was approved previously. This is strictly to go out for the loan for the iBank funding.
Okay, so what happens if this loan is approved? What happens to the fund that is already approved?
I don't know exactly how the finances work with the town. I know you passed an ordinance, I guess, to set the funding aside. You need to do that in order to go for the iBank funding.
If I could just clarify the financing mechanism, it is just a mechanism to reimburse us as we go through the application. We're borrowing it from the iBank, not necessarily ourselves.
Understood. Okay, that poses another question. How soon we are planning to kick this project? Or is this already started? Because we already funded this particular project.
The question is, how quickly do we plan to bid the project?
Yes.
So the funding application will take a couple months. Once the funding application comes through, we are ready to bid the project.
Okay. My subsequent question will be to administration now. What was the reason this council had to approve the funds rather than we could have followed the loan application first? If that would have rejected, then we could have probably used the council approval to fund that particular project. Again, I'm trying to understand the sequence here.
I'd have to see what the bond ordinance, whether it was a bond ordinance or a capital ordinance, but typically you have to approve the appropriation and then you make the application to the iBank. And I think that that's probably why, because I think the councilman, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think your question is, well, when we approved borrowing the money, why didn't we just approve borrowing the money from the iBank?
Right.
There you go. So I think that what the answer is I'd have to look at the bond ordinance, but it probably gave you the ability to do both, do either. The iBank is such a much more favorable interest rate, and I'm assuming what it is. And I don't know whether or not that bond ordinance wasn't maybe a capital ordinance that just approved the capital expenditure subject to.
I apologize. That's correct. So the capital bond ordinance, as we usually do, would just approve the appropriations part of the funding. That doesn't necessarily mean that we spend against it. We want to go through the iBank, get that approved, and we wouldn't have to worry about that appropriation for the capital bond ordinance.
So understood. So this will be offset. If this gets approved, it will be offset to what we funded.
Yes.
Yes, it's not in addition to, if that's
Understood.
correct.
But how we are going to link it, given the way, again, we are operating, if this resolution goes there, the loan gets approved, will this council will get an opportunity to accept the loan that is approved by the?
Correct, yeah. Anything that goes, obviously, through the bidding process, which this will certainly will because of the threshold, it'll all come to the council.
Oh, the iBank loan comes to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Correct,
Yeah,
and
this
then.
is just an application. One, in fact, we get approved from the iBank, you'll have to pass it may even be an ordinance, but I'll have to check. I believe it is an ordinance authorizing the iBank loan.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You'll get to see it, and then you'll get to see it when we bid out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, anybody have a question? Oh.
Yes, I was under the impression, and now I'm hearing that I guess my impression was wrong. When we approved that funding the first time, I thought we needed that to do the application to the iBank, but I thought we were moving forward with the project. Like if the iBank, let's just say the iBank does not approve this, is this something that the administration or the water department feels is necessary and we have to do anyway?
Yeah, the water department feels it's necessary. I mean, they're not, the water department themselves are not here, but from speaking with Bob, it is a project that they feel is necessary.
Okay, so if procedurally, since we approved it, could we do the work while we're in the application process to the iBank? And, if they approve us, that's a great thing, right? And if they forgive it in the future, that's even a greater thing. But in the meantime, if they don't do it, we're still going to pay for it, and we approve the funding for it. So I'm just wondering why we would wait a couple months to hear from the iBank to start this work.
Because if you want the iBank funding, you have to go to the iBank and get approval to go out to bid. So the iBank has to look at our design plans, they have to look at our specifications. There's certain language that has to be in the specifications in order for the iBank to approve us to go out to bid. So if you want the funding, we have to put in the application prior to going out to bid on the project.
Could you send me a copy of that?
Of the language?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much.
So Dave, just for clarification, what you're saying is after we got the approval, you started working on it, and this is part of the next step that we're
Yes.
applying to the iBank. And
Right,
this is-
we've done the design work, we've done the mapping. This is the next step, the application, in order to get the funding so we can go out to bid for a construction contract.
Any
President, just to clarify, the iBank will not reimburse us for any funds until this loan is approved and in place.
Okay.
So that's why, Councilman Brescher, we couldn't start the project now.
Well, that's why I just asked for the language. I'd just like to read it, that's all. Thank
Any
you.
more questions for Dave? All right, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to number 14 from the Township Clerk, A and B. Any questions or comments? And seeing none, I also wanted to add 2 reappointments to the Housing and 1 new member. And I believe the new member should be Billy Thomas. The Madam Clerk will be sending out the application to everybody. And then we'll discuss that on Wednesday. Number 15th from the council member of the Planning Board, Councilman Pointer.
Thank you, Council President. The next meeting is next Monday, April 15th, 7 p.m. here at Council Chambers. Thank you, Council President.
All right, moving on to discussion items. Councilman Coyle.
I had communications already that have been answered through the BA and administration. We had our finance meeting, which I was happy that we discussed several opportunities for future tax revenues and one-shot tax revenues we've had in the past. And I think overall we had a great meeting, so I have nothing to discuss on there. I did want to ask the administration that we can set up our next meeting sometime before May 10th. I discussed future tax revenues on there. Economic developer, I'm just curious where we are with that. I know that this council is in full support of that.
So the interviews will be held shortly.
Okay, great. And affordable housing, I guess, is there an opportunity where we can meet with the affordable housing to see what levels of housing they can help with, not just affordable housing, but student housing?
I would refer to legal regarding the question is related to student housing and affordable housing with the Housing Authority?
I think, no, I don't believe so. The Housing Authority is governed by HUD guidelines, and I don't think that is student housing. I think it's specifically not student housing.
Okay, but what about for veteran housing? Can we have a discussion on veteran housing?
Once again, we're talking about the Housing Authority?
Yeah.
There are HUD guidelines. I honestly do not know, and maybe it's a question for the Housing Authority's attorney as to whether or not they are allowed to give veterans preference. I know under state law, for our affordable housing that is built under our, let's call it our CORE obligation, we can give a veterans preference for up to 50% of the housing.
Council President, to the administration, is it possible I could have a meeting sometime or a phone call between now and May 10th for affordable housing with the administration? And public safety, I believe we've put our best step forward when it comes to the crimes that are happening in Edison. I'm truly proud of this administration stepping forward and making the statements they've had. I'm not happy to hear what has happened in our township, but I am truly proud of what steps we're taking each week and when it comes to public safety. And Public Works, I had spoken to Ray from DPW and had my questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Coyle. Councilman Vice President.
Yes, I had asked about the, when we can expect the township seal to be back on the back wall. And happily, the answer is that apparently it's going to be finished on Friday and should be hung sometime next week. Excellent. What about the video monitors? Are there supposed to be video monitors back there too?
I believe so. I just have to follow up on that. I just followed up on the seal.
Okay, all right, thank you. I had asked about the status of Silver Lake, which is apparently just kind of dormant right now. And it was purchased in order to prevent warehousing. Is there a plan to revisit that at all in terms of development for the township? Or is this just going to be open for a while?
I believe this will just be open for a while. I know we're doing some look at the remediation, and there's some surveying happening, so there's just some things we're doing on the back end. That's pretty much it, but nothing else is happening on there.
Okay. And lastly, on the good news and bad news about the council protocol, the good news was that I liked from the last meeting, the combined meeting, was that the public's questions were answered in a timely fashion, and I'm hoping that that can continue. They were answered right at the time the questions were asked. I hope that that's something that will continue because it's something that the public deserves. The part that concerned me about what happened at the last meeting was during council discussion, when Councilman Brescher was speaking his piece, the attorney had interrupted in the midst of things to make a correction. And it's all well and good that the attorney wants to make a correction. However, that correction, in my view, should wait until the councilman is finished speaking. I think we all deserve that. And I would ask that in the future, if there are any corrections to be made, that wait until a council member has finished speaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Councilmember Patil.
Thank you, Council President. Before I go to my discussion items here, I have a simple question here. Who prints this list? Because what I sent, Cheryl, to you versus what I see here is completely different. In fact, last time I requested very clearly, please print this as is, do not modify, because I have to go back to the email and just check, what that means or what the question is.
Bullet points of the subject of topic, not necessarily the whole questions. The questions were meant for.
They were forwarded to the.
Okay, so these are not the question. I will read the first one, and you can figure it. That's all I'm listing is the bullet point, not that many questions. Very first one is the solar power flashing light request. The original request I made was for the Calvert and Grove intersection, all school intersections, dangerous intersections around the high density or high traffic neighborhood. There is no question here. It's a plain bullet point. So if you look at here is solar powered flashlight, what that means, it's a complete disconnect. What I meant versus what is being here. The reason I'm bringing this one is so the resident who is probably may not be attending the council meeting, just reading, they should understand what that means, what the topic of discussion is, the topic of discussion is not the solar powered flashlight, but also the location of those. My question here is on that, Sonia, I know that, we approved some funds, and what I heard the comment, brief comment by DPW director, that was exclusively for the school intersections.
Initially.
Initially, correct. So we are probably, this Wednesday we'll be approving $280,000 worth of snow plow and spreader parts, accessories. Winter is over. So how we are prioritizing the quality of life things, because this is really important for residents. I understand we are moving on the bigger projects, but these are equally important. So I don't know why there is no priority on some of these line items. Like, why can't we purchase instead of 30, 50?
Just for clarification purposes, I did get the detailed request in terms of the subject matter. So regarding the Calvert and Grover intersection, so previously the council approved about $300,000 for the flash. So we need additional capital funding, which would be part of the 2024. That said, we don't, once we get the budget adopted and then a capital bond ordinance, and we can certainly continue to address. So it's not necessarily a matter of how we're prioritizing, because we certainly are, especially with the schools, but we do need additional funding because we just allocated a portion of that to address the immediate need of the schools.
Understood. Again, question is very simple, right? And that's where I'm going to come back on the Glendale property. We'll be paying close to $500,000 interest on that particular property for 2024. Was that real priority for us to purchase without any plan? That becomes questionable. So I don't think it's a question of your funding. We can easily bond $1 million for this flashlight if that's really, because it's a critical. And that's what I say, that we need to put some of the projects in the high priority. It's a quality of life issue. If we keep waiting for a budget, again, I don't know, I was told in February, we are in April, when that budget will come, when it will be approved, when the order will be placed in, when they will be, we'll receive, and when we're going to install those. Again, this is 6 months old thing, and I don't know why we were not able to prioritize in last 6 months. Hey, because I think this council has probably approved more than $40 million worth of bonds. This could have been easily one line item here. I don't know why there is a lack of priority here, but I will leave it to your good judgment there. And I'll be very keen to understand where the schedule of those 30 flashlight and where they are going. I'll be looking for that in next council meeting.
I believe that was provided to you a couple of meetings ago, but I'll recirculate it.
Not the schedule, like where they will be put in and
35 locations you mentioned, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Location and the timing.
Sure, I'll recirculate it.
Thank you. Grove Avenue, 25 miles an hour. I know Chief Dudas gave a month ago the status saying, hey, this is done. And this exactly I told this council, if you have blocked that one section, not letting it 25 miles an hour, we would be still talking here. That's the reason, we keep kicking can down the road. I don't know where is the holdup. I think it's with the engineering department. That's what I heard last time. It went from traffic to engineering, or where it went. And I don't know why it would take 1 month to get an approval on this.
Council President, if I could just defer to Deputy Chief Dudash, and our engineer is here, Mr. Picarillo.
Good evening, everybody. So actually, yes, the study was completed. I have a memorandum here from Lieutenant Turner. It is in concert with the engineering department as well. And the findings were that the 25 should remain in place along Grove Avenue.
But there is no ordinance yet.
What's that? I'm sorry.
You're saying 25 should remain or 35 should remain?
25.
Oh, my mistake. I apologize. The 35 should remain in place. The 25 for that short distance that was already done, 35 for the remainder of Grove Avenue will remain in effect, according to what the study showed that was reviewed again by the engineering department.
Okay. Will you be able to share that study to this council? Because that's exactly the reason, we were saying it just hold up, let's do the whole study. We would have been again back to square now, right? Now let's look at the small one. So at least we got small section of
I can certainly share this memorandum, and there is statistical data that's attached to it that was created during the study.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Next one is Glendale property, Silver Lake. My council colleague, council vice president covered on that, but my question is, again, goes back to the finance through council president. Close to $500,000 will be paying the interest rate on this particular property in 2024. What's the take on this? How soon or how quick we can move forward? I know we have money, we budgeted, we funded, but this is a throwaway money, $25,000, $50,000 a month, doing nothing. That $50,000 I could have used for the solar light that I was just talking about. So what's our plan? How soon you think we'll have something to this council in terms of the concept plan or any type of the administration's vision on particular Glendale property?
Sure. So prior to, let's say, a vision plan setting, what we are looking at is the remediation portion of that property, as well as having a survey completed, which is in the works. So that in itself does take quite a bit of time.
So you're telling me the survey was not done when we purchased this property?
So we're doing a survey with the totality of the area that's covered. There's also a portion, and I can certainly just defer to legal, there's a portion of the property that is of question, so we're completing the survey to include everything.
Correct. And not, not to go into items that maybe are better for a closed session, there is litigation with the adjoining property owner. So that is part and parcel of this also that has to resolve itself for us to understand what the plan is going forward. So that is a part of it. I wouldn't want to leave this discussion without council, and council has some familiarity with that. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that.
Thank you, Attorney. In fact, you pointing that out, this council was well aware of a potential lawsuit, and that's where my question came in, why there was a rush to close the property, and now we are again on a back foot, and I will not talk about the lawsuit, but we are on a back foot. We are spending $50,000 a month in interest. We have no control on the property. I don't know how long it's going to take for the lawsuit, how long it is going to take for remediation, how long it is going to take for the survey, but yet the taxpayers are going to continue to take the burn of this $50,000 a month.
So, and as a practical matter, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, it's the whatever interest we're paying on the money is important. However, in order for us to preserve the property from development, we had to close when we closed, because if we didn't, then we would have been faced with the fact that there was a development application that was pending. So, if we could have asked and received the consent of the property owner to not move forward with his application while we worked out the litigation with the adjoining property owner, we certainly made that request. It was denied. They actually waited a pretty long time before we got to a point where we, got to a price and were able to close. So I do understand what you're saying, Councilman. But if in a perfect world we would have gotten them to stand down, and then we would have fought the litigation, and then we would have come back and closed on the property and saved the interest. But as you can imagine, the property owner said, well, if you don't want me to develop this property, you're going to need to take it off our hands now, and that's why we were kind of forced to do it. But all of those things were all part of the consideration, and I do understand your desire to get this process moving forward, and certainly I think the administration shares that concern.
I understand the complexity of the issue here, but again, I'm not really happy. Again, the way I look at it, the net buck to the taxpayers, what it's going to hit versus what they are getting is not really worth, but I will end the conversation there. Reopen Street 2023-2024, I received a short memo on that. Yes, we are aware. I'll be looking for the list. The reason I say that, this township has an ordinance that those roads must be restored once the work is done. And I can guarantee you, out of 30 odd roads that you are talking, most of those roads, the work is done. So who is responsible to enforce the restoration of the road? I know if you look at the Amboy Avenue, 6 months. Look at the Plainfield Avenue, maybe 8 months. It's still there. So how do we enforce? again, is there a way for us to penalize the utility company, or what's the way out for us?
Well, if somebody is recalcitrant and they really don't, if we order them to do the repair and they don't do it, I'm not sure about the utility companies, Hank may know better than I do, but people take out road opening permits and bonds that we could actually go against. But we could certainly notice people that we could forfeit their bonds if we were going to do it. So engineering would probably know better about what the process is that I don't know what it specifically is to take I don't know, you want to ask the engineer, maybe he would know.
Yep, and in fact, on this council dais, even I have said that if you have to raise the bond money for utility companies, so it be. So at least we can have them surrender and repave those roads if they're not willing to do that.
Which part would you like me to?
You can go
But first, what do we do if, and see if I can take you through, what do we do if there are people out there, there's 25 or 30 roads that the work has been completed and they haven't done the restoration? How is that tracked? How is that enforced?
The list is tracked through DPW, who receives the permits. The applicant typically informs DPW when they are complete with the work, with utility work. That typically involves the main installation, the existing main being decommissioned, and all the utility tie-ins to the residents. That last part is the one that typically takes the longest. With the main installation, it's also typically a 90-day settlement period. Once an entire neighborhood is done, that's typically when we set up a meeting, DPW engineering and the utility, to meet and walk the roads. But the utilities are responsible for informing us when they are completed with the projects.
Do we have any bonds against the utilities work?
The utilities are typically bonded with the BPU and not directly with the township.
Correct, but and I apologize, I didn't get a chance to say that. So the utilities, because they're regulated utilities, they don't have to post bond individually, but other people that are non-regulated utilities do. So a developer who's just putting in sewer pipes, for instance.
They would place a bond.
They would have to place a bond.
But what is the recourse for the utility company to restore the roads?
They typically come back and restore the roads within the last, I would say, several years. They have been more responsive to restoring the roads. But like I had previously said, they typically do entire neighborhoods at once, not a road at a time.
I think if you look at the Amboy Avenue, I don't think any active work there. It is being done for a long time. Look at the Plainfield Avenue.
Council President.
Maybe further down the road, but the half of
When you have a moment, I can explain Amboy Avenue.
the Plainfield Avenue, it's pretty much done within the Edison town. Again, I'm not talking about when it crosses to the other town. I'm talking very specific to our ordinance within Edison Township.
That is a county road, sir, and that is governed. That has to be handled by the county, not the township.
I completely agree. At the same time, those roads resides in Edison Township, so this ordinance is still applicable to those roads.
Not the county
No,
road.
sir, I
No,
defer to the attorney.
so if you're going to open a county road, you get your road opening permit from the county. We don't have jurisdiction over the county road, so the county is the one who permits it, the county is the one who follows up. That having been said, there's no reason in the world, because we have a good working relationship with the county engineering department, that we couldn't say we have 10 locations on Amboy, what's the status of them? I'm sure engineering can do that.
So how we can handle this? If you're saying that this is county, we don't get involved, but the roads are not in good shape. But that's our safety issue, and that's my last point, is quality of life. See, as a taxpayer, they don't care it is a state road or county road or it's town road. They care about the town. They care about their roads. They care about their driving. If the roads are not safe for them to drive, as a taxpayer, where they're going to reach out? They're going to reach out to the council. Council is going to reach out to administration. How we figure it out, it's an internal logistic for us. Whether we reach out to county, reach out to state, but we need to restore those roads regardless, and we are responsible to at least answer our taxpayers. I can't raise my hand and say, hey, this is county road. I'm not responsible. I can't say that. So what's the mechanism? If we have to put some ordinance here or some legislation here, we'll be happy to do that.
No.
But we need to find a solution out of it.
The answer is that under state law, we don't have any ability to regulate anything that happens on a county road, so it is the county. It's not a whole lot we can do about it, other than the fact that because we're, sister governments, let's call it that, the county and the town, we can certainly reach out to them and push them and find out what the story is. But you can't pass an ordinance that would require a road opening permit, for instance, on a county road. The county would just ignore it.
No, I'm not talking about the road opening permit. I'm talking about the restoration of those roads.
Right, but it's
within
part
the
of,
time frame.
but it's part of the county, the county, I mean, as a practical matter, the county could dig up a county road tomorrow, and there's not a whole lot that we can do about it to make them restore it, right? It's a county road. It's all part and parcel of the road opening process. I don't know how else to describe it. They control the county roads. They could close them if they wanted to. Not that they would, but they could.
We can reach out to the county and ask them
Yes.
the status.
Well, that's a different story. That's
No, we definitely have to reach out, but I will agree to disagree with our attorney that county can dig up a road and they can do now. There are roads connecting to the county roads. The residents, the safety, that's why we have the police officers around those roads, not on the county road. Like Oak Tree Road, we have the Edison police vehicle when the construction is going on. They're monitoring there. We are responsible for the safety of our residents. So regardless, whose work it is, we probably get paid for it. So it is our job to make sure that we coordinate with county or with the state and get that work done. Again, the whole idea is find a mechanism to reach out to get that thing done for the residents.
Of course.
I think,
Council President, if I may. So with regard to specifically Plainfield or any county road, they actually keep Brian and I pretty much in the loop when they're getting ready to do certain county roads. I can certainly provide that information so that you're aware ahead of time which county roads are being dealt with. During the winter months when the gas company was finishing up that entire project, we were told that once the plants were open and they were going back to address their road improvement projects, that the Plainfield Road would then be restored. However, being that it's PC&G, I'm sure they're gonna have to do a little more work other than themselves doing their due diligence because it is PSC&G related work. So Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's PSC&G, they have a certain time where they wait to do the restoration.
They typically want to wait minimum of a 90-day settlement period. I am not 100% familiar with the Plainfield Ave project in terms of if there's tie-ins to residents off that line as well. Like I said previously, that sometimes delays the restoration because if you have one resident that's a holdout, you just delayed the paving on the whole project.
Correct. So that said, I will reach out to the county administration. They get back to me pretty fairly quickly, so I will let you all know exactly what the status is. And if there's more specific areas, please don't hesitate to let me know that too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia.
Next one is, tree ordinance, we have it. Woodside Pool, I was looking for the supporting application. I know the resolution is rescinded, it's not on the agenda. It's going to come back. So before it come back, Sonia, if you can please give me the supporting document so this council is ready, the zoning application approval, the number of trees they were cut, the number of trees they are planted, and the trees actually at site before the agenda, the resolution comes to this council. Then my next one is the tax discussion. Again, we went back and forth with this particular line item. We all know Edison Township is growing. There are many people who are extending their houses. Ask was very simple, that is there a formula that tax assessor is using to calculate the property tax? I gave the example. And again, there was a detailed email that was sent out, the reasoning behind the tax valuation for that particular property. I can also come up with the comparable sell in that neighborhood that would reduce the tax substantially. So we can't go with that particular mechanism of picking and choosing the comparable that will raise the property tax of a resident, which is good for the town, but at the same time, we need to come up with some sort of a standard within that a mile radius. Look at all the houses which are similar, not the one that are sold, but which exist there in a similar capacity or in a similar structure, and their tax rate, and then probably we can look at that. And I wanted to send a follow-up email, but I stopped for this council meeting to understand if there is any way we can come up with some sort of a formula. If it is a 500 square feet completely brand new with the foundation, apply X formula. If some renovation, apply Y formula. That would be much easy to help and explain the resident, rather saying go and apply for, go for your tax appeal. Not a nice answer on that. But I'll send you the separate information on that, and let's see if we can come up with something on that. The next one is, it is not HOA policy. This is about the HOA, and that's what, Council President, I said, probably we need to print what it is. It says a tax treatment to HOA and service offered to HOAs. Sonia, if you remember, I did ask the list of all HOAs, the fees that we reimburse year over year for each HOA, and what services we offer and their tax treatment. And I'll be very specific giving the examples. Once you give me the information, I can compare the single family house tax treatment versus the condo or the townhouse tax treatment, and you will see big difference. The HOAs, I would say the townhouses and the condos are much more, their tax rate, net tax rate is much higher compared to the single family houses, compared to what the services we provide. We don't provide landscaping, the snow removal, the lights, trash removal, nothing like that. However, our tax rate is different. I know, Ken, you might be thinking the tax impact on the budget, but that's very important because we probably have thousands and thousands of residents, and this is not a sustainable model going forward. So we need to come up with some sort of a, I would say again, the process to normalize that tax rate, the way probably Board of Ed did with the state did with the Board of Ed in terms of the school funding. But I will leave it there. I will wait for the list of all HOAs, and then I'll give very specific example for 1 bedroom. This is the tax. Here are the services offered. For 2 bedroom, here is the townhouse. Here is the tax. These are the services offered. Here is a 3 bedroom. Here is the tax, and then I'll give the comparative single family houses within the same zip code or within the same neighborhood, and then you will see what the impact is. But once you give me the list, I will be able to provide you that detailed information.
Council President, I mean, I don't know if you want me to answer now or wait.
You can wait, but I need to get the list first.
Okay.
All HOAs.
Just a point of clarification, though, there is a list of the associations that we maintain for snow lights removal. It's based on linear feet, so there's a calculation. However, I'm trying to understand your analysis based on the single-family homes and HOA, which are comparably two different housing.
Understood, but if the tax rate goes by the valuation, the value of your property, and that's where it will be more dialogue with Ken on the tax front. The tax rates are applied based on the formula. You have the county state tax rate, you have the school tax rate, you have the township. Within the township, you have the split there, including for the trash removal or the garbage removal. And if you look at in totality, the single family house, what that person pays, because the valuation of that property is based on the structure as well as the land, whereas for HOA, there is no land per se for that.
Councilman Pato, if you don't mind, can legal answer some of those questions or no?
Sure.
Okay.
So there's the way in which we assess properties and tax them, the property tax is constitutional in New Jersey. In fact, the tax assessor is deemed as a matter of state law to be an agent of the state legislature for the purposes of applying the tax. There is, 75 years of case law in which it says that properties have to be assessed pursuant to uniform standards. What you're suggesting here, and I'm not trying to suggest what's reasonable or moral or fair or not fair. Frankly, we don't have any ability. First, I couldn't tell the tax assessor to change the way she assesses property if I wanted to. She answers to the county tax board. The council doesn't have the ability to do that. And I would like to hear, I'd like to get you the information and hear what your comments are, and I think we can discuss it further, but I just want to understand the parameter, you understand the parameters. We can't, like, for instance, you said, well, don't compare the sales of property, but compare what everybody else is paying in taxes and then see whether or not that's fair. The answer is that's specifically what the tax assessor is not allowed to do. She doesn't have the ability to do that. That having handled thousands of tax appeals, probably hundreds of them for this township, we have property owners that come in all the time and say, well, my neighbor is paying $12,000 in taxes and I'm paying $13,000 in taxes, and therefore I want my tax appeal granted. The answer is the county tax board always says the same thing. How much you pay in taxes, how much they pay in taxes doesn't mean anything. We only deal with, there's three basic ways for you to assess real property, one of which is comparable sales, one of which is the cost approach. The third one is the income approach, which doesn't apply to single-family homes. Those are only the only recognized ways that tax assessors are allowed to assess property. So I would be interested, this is, by the way, a fascinating discussion, one that I've been kind of in the middle of for maybe 45 years now, since my time working in the legislature. I'd like to get you that information. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I just want you to know that, this is going to be a very intellectual discussion. As a practical matter, we could pass every ordinance in the world, or you could call a tax assessor and yell at her and tell her what to do. And we don't have any ability to do that unless the county tax board tells her to do something. So, but by the way, we're happy to go on this journey with you, though. I always like to do that.
Appreciate, but the idea is not to change the tax structure, by the way. The discussion will be derived in a different way. The formula that is used in 1950 or 1960 to reimburse the HOA is still the same.
That's a different story.
But that's where it will come back to. Once you compare the tax treatment, that's where I want to hit that formula. And that's where I wanted to have that conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. And the second one is I'm not looking at the house next to it, I'm looking at the tax sale of the property within the last 5 years or 3 years to compare within that neighborhood. So just to be clear. And that's the example I wanted to pass on. Okay. Next one is the public safety. I know this could be it's not really confidential report. The crime rate report month over month, 22, 23, 24. The reason I asked that, I can go to the state website and I can pull that report. But if there is any handy report that we can probably distribute to the council, not going in a public, but at least for our internal purpose.
3-year reports, they were sent to the Public Safety Committee, and I know that they're trying to coordinate a meeting. I don't want to overstep and report something that the chair may want to, so those were provided to the Public Safety Committee.
Okay, so how this is going to work? If there's a question raised by the councilman, it goes to the committee. Is the committee going to distribute to the council?
We will, once we're done with the thorough.
Okay, if you guys need, I can pull the report from the state and I can distribute it too. There is nothing secret about this.
Okay.
If you have pulled it in the same way. So I fail to understand why it cannot be socialized within the council member. I'll look forward for that report. The 2024 paving list, I believe it is still in process of getting finalized.
The 2024 list has not been finalized as there is no capital bond ordinance yet to attribute to it.
Okay, so that's where my question comes in. So in 2022, we paved the road using 2021 bond. That's correct?
I believe it may have been a combination.
Because we passed the budget all the way in September, so technically we should have been using 2021 in 2022, 2022 in 2023, 23 the capital expense will be used in 2024. We did approve in 2023 for the road paving.
But Councilman Patil, we have a 2023 list with the capital bond ordinance that relates to it, and that is going to get done. So 2024 is completely separate. There's a separate bond ordinance.
Okay, let me backtrack. The fund that was approved in 2021, when Lanky was mayor, we spent that money in 2022 for road paving. Is that true?
Let me just check with the engineering
That's
folks
how
that are
we
here.
roll. That's my understanding. We normally don't, because we have passed the budget right in November, but paving was done in September, October, or in June, July. So where is that tying together? I want to really get to the bottom of this.
So just point of clarification, as I mentioned, so typically we pave after the funding's been approved. So it happened after. So 2021 happened in 2022. That was your question?
Correct.
Okay.
So did we use the funds, capital funds for road paving from 2021 into 2022, or we had a separate?
They are separate bond ordinances.
So
There will be, every year we have it.
just point of clarification. 2021 bond paid for 2021 list. 2022 bond paid for 2022 list.
Correct.
Okay, so then 2023 bond paid 2023 list. We haven't passed 2024, so we're going to be doing that.
Okay, I'll be shocked if that's true here. So what I will be looking is 2021 approved money and the list of the roads they were paved in 2021 using that money. Again, he's shaking no. He's saying no.
No, the 2021 funds funded the work that was actually done in 2022.
Correct.
It may have been carried over some projects into 2023.
That's understood.
Yeah, but it follows a year at least subsequent.
So it goes in next year.
But the list is still from the 2021.
Correct.
But
Yeah,
there's-
my answer to that exactly stays consistent. So
So list will come in whatever the list we call. That
So
doesn't matter.
let me clarify this. 2021 list and the bond are one, but the work was completed in 2022.
correct.
Okay.
And that's the list I'm looking for. 2021 fund that were approved in 2021, but were spent in 2022, and the list attached to that. So we are looking 21, 22, 23, and 23 funds we already approved, but with the 2023 list, that's going to be executed in
so-
2024.
So 2023 budget and the bond and the list is what we're currently working on. So what they're looking for is the 2023 list. if that's
Correct.
what- Okay.
Which
So-
was provided. We provided a completed list of 2022 to the council, as well as the 2023 list.
Okay, so there's no 2024 list as of
So
yet.
there's no 2024 list.
Okay. So 2023 list will be paved in 2024, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Where is that list?
That was provided to the council probably about a month ago. I can certainly recirculate it again.
Because there won't be 2024 list until next year.
Oh, we're hoping to have that with the budget adoption and a capital bond ordinance at the second half of the year.
Okay, again, that's where the problem comes in. 2023 money and 2023 list that has to be executed in 2024. So you already have the money in hand, you already have the list, those roads need to be paved in 2024. I don't know why we are waiting for the funds to get that work started.
I think it's the weather.
We're
related.
just calling it a 2023 list.
The question is, why are we waiting? Is it because of the weather?
Whether they just opened up the plants.
No, but I heard budget, so that's where I was.
Oh, no, I think there was confusion.
It's a compounding question, so if we could
So if-
just kind of layer it.
I think the confusion was the 2024 list is what is listed here, and what you're referring to is the 2023 list. But the work is going to be, hasn't started because of the weather.
Correct.
But it should be started, and we do have the list. I'm sure she can circulate.
We're currently working on a 2024 list.
Correct, but it has nothing to do with this year's budget. That's just want to make it clear.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And rest of the quality of life issues I did cover, especially the roads were the top one. We need to start looking at all the sidewalks around the schools, around the busy intersections. I believe we have CDBG funds. We might have to start looking at and spending that money if there is an opportunity for us to replace some of the sidewalks that are not safe. Let's use the money and put that in the work. Please review all the parks, even the old parks. There is one, I believe, Beatrice Park. It's in very bad shape. Someone needs to go there and clean that. Again, quality of life. Weather is getting better. People are going to go in parks. So not the one they were redone recently, but the one they were redone in 2021, 2020. Those are not that bad, but they need to be cleaned up. They need to be maintained and make sure that we revisit because weather is getting better. And I do have few emails from various folks complaining about that.
Yes, please follow.
Yep.
Let me know about those.
Thank you, Council President.
Okay, Councilman Brescher.
Okay, clarification on safety. The station we have on Oak Tree Road, I know I talked about the one in Raritan Center that's not manned. We have a station on Oak Tree Road, and somebody went up there and reported back to me that there's no one in the command station. Again, that's more of a safety issue. If it's unmanned because you're going there to seek help, and you're actually putting yourself in danger. So I'd recommend that we do put somebody there since we still had quite a bit of money left over from last year. The other was, I spoke to the business administrator as to maybe what kind of ideas I did have. And one of the ideas that came up, and it's not my idea, it's been done by many, many communities. They call it like a broken window effect. And where I'm going with that is, maybe if we took care of this broken window stuff, the things that make the town look deteriorated, it could be better. Like if we could have the administration wanting to remove graffiti, let's say around town, within a 24-hour time period or a 48-hour time period, irregardless of, and the residents and the council, we've all heard that certain things are by the state and certain things are by the county and certain things are by the township. But when we go to this public safety and this broken window type thing, to me, the graffiti, whether it belongs to the state, maybe it's on a bridge that the state has, as the administration or as the mayor, irregardless of who it belongs to, I believe we should take care of this. So that would be something I'd like to see moving forward, because I've heard some of this graffiti's been up for over a year around town. If the administration needs me to tell them where it is, I can put a thing on Facebook, because that's where I seem to get my, quite a bit of news, actually. I could do that, but I prefer for them just to handle it and take care of it if that's possible. The public advocate, just like to say, I believe in it, and I think it's something that we need, basically to make a case. Proclamation. I'd like to do this proclamation, and I sent a bunch of information to my council colleagues with some links, and I'd like to speak to them this week. I'll reach out to them to see what their feelings are. I mean, I think this is a good thing for somebody that's actually been very good to our town. Amazon. We did look at certain things. I did look at the sound study, and while it was going on, the residents told me that it was a little quieter down there. A lot of the sound study did come in, under the decibel level. I mean, barely under the decibel level, but it did. And what that tells me is that Amazon has the ability to be a good neighbor. And I'm not talking about donating candy for our trunk or treats, right? I'm not talking about donating money for us to have parties or anything here, but them as a business have the ability to be good neighbors. And I'm wondering if I could get a contact, somebody from Amazon that the people on this committee could sit with and maybe find out that if they could do it on one day, why they can't do it for the other 364 days. So if the administration can get us a contact at Amazon that we can meet with, I know you have a number because you obviously get donations, right? So you got to call somebody there to get somebody. So whoever got the donations actually has a number. And I'm not calling for donations, I'm asking them to be a good neighbor. Because if they can't be a good neighbor, I'd like to ask my council colleagues not to accept what I'll call almost like blood donations, where we're accepting donations from an organization that's upsetting some of our neighbors and our residents, and it's to make us feel good. So I don't think, as a community, I don't think we should be accepting of that type of donation unless they can be that good neighbor and work with us on it. So if the administration can get me a number from whoever got the donations,
I can certainly, I believe there was the last contact with the Amazon committee. There was a change in management.
They had a
and everyone was
change.
in there. Is it that person you're looking
No, I hear
to get to?
They got someone new, is
Okay.
from what I hear. So if we can just get whoever that is, or whoever we got the, trunk or treat candies from, or whoever that contact was, if we can just get that would help. Tree ordinance, great, like to see that. Oh, an update, and I'm not sure that you looked at any of this, but our youth sports money, right? We talked about that to make sure that it's fairly funded with all of our youth sports, because we had the one issue with the soccer that was kind of underfunded if we went by the formula that we had. Did the administration get to review that as of yet?
I believe this was in part of our recreation department, so I will follow up with them to see what the calculation update has been.
All right, thank you. Sprinkler systems. This goes back to public safety. I'm looking for the reports for the sprinklers for our township buildings and the fire alarms for our township buildings. And the reason why I asked for this was we had the senior center that we had issues. And then once I asked for these reports and I got the reports, I guess it was evident enough that public safety deemed that we had to shut down the community center at that point for public safety reasons. So I'd like to get these reports for these buildings, and I don't believe I've received them. I've received our fire inspection reports, but I need these two to complete the package. Campaign finance reform. I've just, in reading the news, I've seen that our governor basically raises a certain amount of money and then the state contributes to his campaign, which I believe is a good thing, and because the way we're structured now, I don't know. I mean, I have questions as to why we approve things like the containers or the website design. There's certain things that are just grossly overstated, and I think if there was a way that the public could fund this, maybe like New York City, but I think the council should look into some sort of campaign finance reform, just to kind of keep everything on the up and up. I do know that we're going down this where the line is removed thing, and that's supposed to help people, supposedly, but Edison's so large, you do need financing. So that was something that I'd like to continue to look into and see if my colleagues would look into that also. And finally, the lawyer. Our lawyer isn't here today that I'd like to speak to about the items that I've listed, so I'll just hold them for our next meeting. But I will say this, though. At our last meeting, I did ask for a closed session for the Glendale property, and we haven't had it. So at the next meeting, I'm going to have to bring the documents, I guess, because I got my news from Facebook, not from the administration, right? Not from council president, not from our attorney. But I found out through Facebook about a lawsuit. It's sad when a councilman isn't given the information. And then when he asked for a closed session, so maybe we could have a discussion about this, because I don't want to jeopardize it by speaking out in public, that should have happened. So I haven't received anything on the lawsuit except for whatever somebody posted on Facebook, so I don't know if the lawsuit's real or not. I did hear that we had problems legally at the beginning. So again, I'm requesting the documents, number one, and then number two, a closed session to discuss, like, well, how did we get here? Which goes back to Councilman Batil, where he was talking earlier about it. So, either we're going to do this in closed session or it's going to be done by the public. And I prefer really to do it in closed session if possible. But that would be it for my discussion items today. Thank you.
If the council doesn't mind, we can do a closed session now and take care of this issue. May I get a motion to do a closed session?
I'll make
All
a
right, a
motion.
motion by
Close
Councilman Brescher, a second.
I'll second.
All right, a motion by Councilman Brescher, second by Councilman Pointer. Councils will go into closed session at 7:40.
So when you come back, are you going to do any, take
Otherwise, it's not real. All right, the meeting is back in session. It's 8:08 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Or motion to reconvene, right?
Motion to reconvene.
Second.
So I have a motion to reconvene by Councilman Patil, second by Council Vice President. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion to adjourn by Councilman Patil, second by Council Vice President. All in favor? Aye. All right, let's go home.